The stars had been calling Earth for 200 years. Every single day, signals came from the darkness of space. Invitations, warnings, questions, demands. The Galactic Council sent messages in 1,000 languages, beamed broadcasts across every frequency, and even sent living ambassadors to knock on humanity's door. Earth never answered. Not once. Not a single word. In a deep underground facility beneath the mountains of Korea, a woman named Yuna sat before a wall of screens. She was 32 years old, with tired eyes and steady hands. Her job was simple. She listened to every alien transmission that reached Earth. She recorded them. She translated them. And then she filed them away in silence. Today, she was watching the Galactic Council's annual summit. Hundreds of alien species had gathered on a station at the center of the galaxy. They sat in a massive circular chamber, their bodies of every shape and size. Some had wings. Some had scales. Some were made of light itself. And all of them were talking about Earth. 200 years, said Elder Voss, the Council's chief ambassador. He was tall and thin, with a hard shell covering his body like armor. His voice was sharp and angry. 200 years we have extended our hand to this small blue world. 200 years they have ignored us. This is not silence. This is insult. Yuna leaned forward in her chair. She had heard Elder Voss speak many times. He hated Earth. He called humans animals, primitives. He believed they were too stupid to understand the gift the Council was offering behind Yuna. Door opened softly. A man walked in without making a sound. His name was Han Tae, and he was 45 years old. His hair was turning gray at the edges. His face was calm like still water. He was Earth's shadow commander, the man who led humanity's secret defense. Very few people knew he existed. What are they saying today? Tae asked quietly. The same things, Yuna replied. Elder Voss is angry. He wants to force us to respond. Tae nodded slowly. He pulled a chair beside her and sat down. Together, they watched the Council argue. A younger alien stood up to speak. She had soft blue skin and large black eyes. Perhaps we should leave Earth alone, she said. They have not attacked anyone. They have not threatened us. Maybe they simply want to be left in peace. Elder Voss made a harsh sound. Peace. They are not peaceful. They are planning. They are watching. A species that refuses to speak is a species that is hiding something. We must know what it is. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted at each other. Some agreed with Voss. Some did not. But slowly the tide turned. Fear was a powerful thing. The unknown was always frightening. Finally, the Council speaker raised a hand for silence. We will vote, the speaker announced. The question is simple. Should we send an ultimatum to Earth? Should we demand they respond or face corrective integration? Yuna felt her heart beat faster. Corrective integration was a gentle way of saying invasion. The Council had done it before to other silent worlds. They would arrive with warships, take control of the planet, and force the species to join galactic civilization. The vote took only minutes. The result was clear. The motion passes, the speaker said. Earth will be given one galactic cycle to respond. If they remain silent, the Council will take action. Tae watched the screen without expression. His face gave nothing away. Sir, Yuna said carefully, what do we do now? Tae was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to a window that looked out at an underground garden. Plants grew there under artificial light, green and alive in the darkness beneath the mountain. Do you know why we stayed silent, Yuna? He asked. She shook her head. I know the doctrine. But I never understood why. Tae turned to face her. 200 years ago, when the first alien signals reached Earth, our leaders had a choice. They could answer immediately, like an eager child. They could beg to join the galactic community. They could show the universe everything we had, everything we were. He paused. Or they could wait. They could listen. They could learn. Learn what? Yuna asked. Everything, Tae said simply. We intercepted every council transmission for 2 centuries. We decoded their languages. We studied their technology. We mapped their territories, their alliances, their weaknesses. We learned who they really were when they thought no one was listening. Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. And what did we learn? Tay's eyes grew hard. We learned that they saw us as children at best, resources at worst. We learned that Elder Voss was not alone in his thinking. Many species wanted to take our world, use our people, strip our planet for its minerals. They smiled in their broadcasts, but they planned conquest in their private meetings. He walked back to Yuna's station and looked at the frozen image of Elder Voss on the screen. So we prepared, Tay continued. Quietly, patiently, we built things they cannot imagine. We trained soldiers they will never expect. We created a defense that has waited 200 years for this moment. Yuna stared at him. The ultimatum. You knew it would come. We knew it was possible, Tay admitted. We hoped we were wrong about them. We hoped they would prove us wrong, that they would respect our choice to stay quiet. But they didn't. They chose force. They chose threats. He smiled then, a small and dangerous smile. Now they will learn why silence is not weakness. Yuna looked back at the screens, at the hundreds of alien species who had just voted to threaten her world. For the first time in her career, she felt something other than curiosity. She felt pride. Should we respond to their ultimatum? She asked. Tay shook his head slowly. No, let them come. Let them bring their ships and their soldiers and their arrogance. Let them see what 200 years of patience has built. He placed a hand on her shoulder. When we finally speak, Yuna, the whole galaxy will hear us, and they will never forget the sound of our voice. He turned and walked toward the door. Before he left, he paused and looked back at her. Prepare yourself. History is about to change, and you will be there to witness it. Then he was gone, and Yuna was alone with the silent screens. Outside, somewhere far above the mountain, the stars were shining, and somewhere among them, an alien fleet was preparing to teach Earth a lesson. They had no idea that Earth had been waiting to teach one of its own. 6 months passed like water through fingers. The ultimatum traveled across the galaxy, and the galaxy held its breath. Everyone waited to see what Earth would do. Would the silent planet finally speak? Would the humans beg for mercy? Would they run? Earth did nothing. Life continued as if nothing had happened. Cities glowed at night. Trains ran on time. Children went to school. Farmers worked their fields. The people of Earth knew the aliens were coming. They had been told, but they did not panic. They did not cry. They simply trusted that someone was watching over them, and someone was. Admiral Kell stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Burning Light. He was a creature of war, bred for command. His skin was thick and gray, covered in old scars from old battles. Behind him, through the massive windows, 300 warships filled the darkness of space. It was the largest fleet the Council had sent anywhere in 50 years. We have entered the human star system, his officer reported. No response from Earth, no defensive signals, no communication of any kind. Kell made a rumbling sound deep in his chest. Scan for military vessels. Scanning now, Admiral. The officer paused. I detect nothing. A few civilian transports near their 4th planet. Some mining operations in the asteroid belt. But no warships. No orbital defenses. Kell frowned. This was wrong. Every species in the galaxy, no matter how primitive, would have some defense when facing an armada. Even animals fought when cornered. But Earth sat quiet and dark, like a sleeping child. Perhaps they truly are as primitive as Elder Voss claimed, another officer suggested. Perhaps they have no weapons at all. Species survives 200 years of galactic awareness without weapons, Kell said slowly. They are hiding something. Continue approach. Broadcast the ultimatum again. Communications officer opened a channel. Attention. Planet Earth. This is the Galactic Council Armada. You have ignored our peaceful requests for 2 centuries. You have been given time to respond. That time has ended. You have 72 hours to send representatives to our flagship, or we will begin corrective integration. This is your final warning. The message flew across space at the speed of light. It washed over Earth's blue oceans and green continents. It echoed through every human city, every human home. And still, there was no response. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a base that appeared on no map, Commander Kim Sora was eating dinner when the alarm sounded. She was 28 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had trained her entire life for this moment. Her father had trained for it. Her grandmother had trained for it. 3 generations of her family had served the Silent Fleet. She put down her chopsticks and walked calmly to the command center. Her second in command, a tall, quiet man named Day, was already there. The Council fleet has arrived, Day reported. 300 ships. They have given us 72 hours. Sora looked at the tactical display. Red dots marked the alien armada clustered at the edge of the solar system like wolves at a fence. Have we received orders from Commander Tay? She asked. Yes, Commander. Day handed her a tablet. On it was a single phrase. Protocol silence break. Sora felt her heart swell with something powerful. It was not fear. It was pride. It was hunger. It was the feeling of a hunter who had waited in the shadows for far too long. Wake them up, she said softly. Wake them all up. Across the solar system, things began to move. Inside hollowed asteroids that had floated peacefully for decades, engines hummed to life. Beneath the frozen oceans of Europa, hatches opened in the ice. In the darkness of the moon's shadow, mountains split apart to reveal cities of steel and light. From the depths of Earth's own oceans, vessels rose like ancient giants waking from sleep. 10,000 ships. 20,000. 30,000. They had been built in secret over 200 years. Each generation had added to the fleet, passed the duty to their children, and trusted that someday the waiting would end. Workers had lived and died in hidden shipyards, never seeing sunlight, believing that their sacrifice would protect their world. Now their sacrifice was revealed on the burning light. Admiral Kell was reviewing reports when his tactical officer screamed. Admiral, energy signatures. Massive energy signatures appearing across the system. Kell spun toward the display. His blood turned cold. Where moments ago there had been empty space, now there were lights. Thousands of lights. They emerged from asteroids, from moons, from the planets themselves. They spread across the solar system like stars being born. It's impossible, Kell whispered. That's impossible. 60,000 vessels and counting, the officer said, his voice shaking. 70,000. 80,000. Admiral, they outnumber us 300 to 1. The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the display in horror. The Council Armada, the most powerful fleet assembled in half a century, was surrounded. They were not hunters. They were prey. And then, for the first time in 200 years, Earth spoke. The transmission was simple. No video, no negotiation. Just a woman's voice, calm and cold as winter. You were warned. Sora stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Silent Dawn. Around her, her crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this their entire lives. They were ready. All ships in position, Day reported. The Council fleet is completely surrounded. They cannot run. Open a channel to Commander Tay. The screen flickered and Tay's face appeared. He looked older now, tired but satisfied. Behind him, Yuna was watching with wide eyes. Commander Sora, Tay said. The moment has arrived. What is the status? The fleet is ready, sir. 80,000 ships against their 300. We can destroy them in minutes. Tay shook his head slowly. No, we will not fire first. That is not who we are. Sora felt surprise, but she trusted her commander. Then what are our orders? Hold position. Let them see what they face. Let them understand what their arrogance has awakened.
Always.
Tay leaned closer to the screen. We have sent a diplomat to their flagship. Her name is Bora. She will deliver our terms. And if they refuse, Tay's eyes grew hard. Then we will teach them why Earth stayed silent. Not because we were weak. Not because we were afraid. But because we were waiting, paused. Waiting for them to make the first mistake. The channel closed. Sora looked out the window at the stars. At the tiny cluster of alien ships surrounded by humanity's secret might. For 200 years, Earth had been silent. Now the silence was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. The shuttle was small and white, flying alone through the darkness between two fleets. Inside sat a single woman. Her name was Bora, and she was 40 years old. She wore simple gray clothes and carried nothing but a thin datapad in her hands. No weapons. No guards. Just herself and the truth she carried. Admiral Kell watched the shuttle approach on his screen. His officers whispered nervously behind him. They had never seen anything like this. A single human coming to meet a fleet of 300 warships. It was either madness or supreme confidence. Kell was not sure which was worse. "Allow her to dock," he ordered. "I want to see this creature with my own eyes." The shuttle landed in the flagship's hangar. Kell walked down to meet it, surrounded by 20 armed soldiers. He wanted the human to see his strength. He wanted her to feel small. The shuttle door opened. Bora stepped out calmly as if she were arriving at a friend's house for tea. She looked at the soldiers, at their weapons, at Admiral Kell himself. Then she smiled politely. "Good afternoon, Admiral," she said. "Thank you for meeting me. I am Bora, diplomatic representative of Earth. May we talk somewhere private?" Kell stared at her. She was smaller than he expected, fragile-looking. How could such a weak species have built the fleet that now surrounded him? "You may speak here," Kell said roughly. "I have nothing to hide from my crew." Bora tilted her head slightly. "As you wish. But I should warn you, Admiral. What I am about to share may be difficult for your crew to hear. It concerns the honor of the Galactic Council. Your crew may lose respect for their leaders after hearing it." I felt a flash of anger. "The Council has nothing to be ashamed of. Then you have nothing to fear from privacy." Bora's smile did not change. "But I offered. The choice is yours." Kell hesitated. Something about this woman disturbed him. She was too calm, too confident. Finally, he waved his soldiers away. "Follow me," he said. He led her to his private meeting room. The door sealed behind them. They were alone. Bora walked to the center of the room and placed her datapad on the table. "Admiral Kell. For 200 years, the Galactic Council has wondered why Earth stayed silent. You believed we were primitive, afraid, incapable of understanding your great civilization. We extended friendship," Kell interrupted. "We offered you membership in the greatest alliance in the galaxy. You rejected us without a single word. That is not the action of a civilized species." Bora nodded slowly. "I understand why you think that, but you are wrong. We did not reject you. We studied you." She pressed a button on the datapad. A hologram appeared above the table, showing council meetings from decades past. Alien leaders spoke in languages Kell knew well. "This is a private council session from 60 years ago," Bora said. "Listen." Elder Voss's voice filled the room. "Earth has resources we need. Minerals, water, and the humans themselves could serve as workers. They are strong and breed quickly. Once we integrate them, they will be valuable property." Kell's face went pale. "How did you get this recording?" "These sessions are encrypted with the highest security." "You broke your encryption on the third day," Bora said calmly. "We have been listening to every private council transmission for 200 years. Every plan. Every secret. Every lie." She pressed another button. More recordings played. Council members discussing how to divide Earth's continents, how to separate human families for labor efficiency, how to suppress human religion and culture to make them easier to control. "You came with words of friendship," Bora said quietly. "But behind closed doors, you planned our slavery." Kell could not speak. His mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. Bora turned off the hologram. "That is why we stayed silent, Admiral. Not because we were weak, because we were watching. We wanted to see who you really were. We hoped you would prove us wrong. We hoped that someday the council would look at Earth and see partners instead of prey. She looked at him with eyes that held no hatred. Only disappointment. You never did. Kel found his voice. What do you want? Revenge? You have the fleet to destroy us. Why send a diplomat? Because we are not like you, Bora said simply. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to enslave other species. We want only one thing. What? Respect. Bora picked up her datapad. I am transmitting a document to every ship in your fleet and to the council headquarters. It is called the Earth Accords. Inside, you will find our terms for joining galactic civilization. Kel's console beeped. The document had arrived. He opened it with shaking hands and began to read. Hey, you want equal representation on the council? He said slowly. Full voting rights. Protection of human culture and territory. And he stopped. His eyes went wide, as Bora said. We want the council to publicly release all private transmissions regarding Earth. Every species in the galaxy will know what you planned for us. They will know the truth about how the council treats silent worlds. That would destroy the council's reputation, Kel whispered. Species would lose faith. Alliances would break. Then perhaps the council should not have made those plans. Bora's voice was still calm. Still polite. We are offering you a choice, Admiral. Accept the Earth Accords and acknowledge humanity as equals. Or refuse, and we will release the transmissions ourselves. Every species will know, and they will wonder if the council planned the same fate for them. Kel sat down heavily. His whole world was collapsing. He had come to teach a primitive species its place. Instead, he had learned that his own civilization was built on lies. Why not just destroy us? He asked quietly. You have the power. You could end the council threat forever. Bora was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. Because that is not who we want to be. 200 years ago, our ancestors made a choice. They could have attacked first. They could have tried to conquer before being conquered. But they decided that humanity would not become what it feared. We would be patient. We would be strong. But we would not be cruel. She walked toward the door. You came here expecting animals, Admiral? You found something else. Now you must decide what your council truly stands for. We will wait for your answer. We are very good at waiting. The door opened. She paused and looked back. You have 72 hours? The same time you gave us. We thought that was fair. And she was gone, walking back to her shuttle, leaving Admiral Kel alone with the weight of his civilization's sins. Outside, 80,000 human ships waited in silence. They had waited 200 years. They could wait a little longer. The Galactic Council's headquarters was the largest station ever built. It floated at the center of the galaxy, a city of metal and light where every known species had a voice. For 400 years, it had been the heart of galactic civilization. Today it felt like a courtroom waiting for judgment. Jin stood at the entrance of the great chamber, looking up at the thousands of seats rising like mountains around him. Each seat held a representative from a different world. They watched him with eyes of every color and shape. Some curious, some afraid, some angry. He was 35 years old, a historian who had spent his life studying human culture. He had never imagined he would be here, standing as humanity's first ambassador to the galaxy. But Commander Tay had chosen him for a reason. They need to understand us, Tay had said. Not our weapons. Not our ships. They need to understand our hearts. You can show them that. Beside Jin stood Ho, his security officer. Ho was a giant of a man, silent and watchful. He had served under Tay for 20 years and had never failed a mission. His presence made Jin feel safe. Even in this room full of aliens who had voted to invade his world, the council speaker rose from the central platform. She was an ancient being, her body wrapped in flowing robes that moved like water. Her name was Rin, and she had led the council for 4 centuries. We are gathered today to consider the Earth Accords, Speaker Rin announced. Her voice was old, but strong. The human representative will speak first. Then we will discuss. Then we will vote. Jin walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed him. He felt small, but he remembered Tay's words. Small things could carry great truths. "Thank you, Speaker Rin," Jin began. "My name is Jin. I am a historian. I study the past so that we can learn from it. Today I want to share my people's story with you." He pressed a button on his datapad. Holograms appeared around the chamber, showing images of Earth throughout history. "Humans have existed for 300,000 years, Jin said. In that time, we have fought terrible wars. We have hurt each other in ways that still bring us shame. We have made mistakes that cost millions of lives." The images showed ancient battles, burning cities, suffering, and pain. The council members watched in silence. "But that is not all we are," Jin continued. The images changed. Now they showed art and music, temples and gardens, parents holding children, friends laughing together. We also create beauty. We write poetry. We build monuments to love and hope. We protect the weak and remember the dead. We dream of better worlds, and then we build them. He paused, letting the images speak for themselves. "When we first learned of the Galactic Council, we were excited. We thought we had found friends among the stars. But then we listened to your private discussions. We heard how you spoke of us when you thought no one was listening." The chamber grew very quiet. "We could have hated you for that," Jin said softly. "We could have built our fleet to destroy you instead of defend ourselves. But we chose a different path. We chose patience. We chose to wait and see if you would change." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species after species. "You did not change. And so now we are here, not as beggars asking for acceptance, but as equals demanding respect. The Earth Accords are not a request. They are a statement of who we are and what we will accept." Elder Voss rose from his seat. His voice was sharp and bitter. "This is blackmail. You threatened to release private communications to force us to accept your demands. This is not diplomacy. This is terrorism." Jin turned to face him. "Elder Voss, you voted to invade our world. You called us animals. You planned to enslave our children. And you call us terrorists." The chamber rustled with whispers. Many council members looked uncomfortable. They had seen the leaked recordings. They knew what Voss had said. "We are not terrorists," Jin continued calmly. "We are survivors. For 200 years, we lived under the shadow of a threat we could not yet face. We built our strength in secret. We trained our people in silence. We did what any species would do to protect their home." He raised his datapad. "The Earth Accords ask only for fairness, equal representation, protected borders, the right to our own culture and beliefs. These are not extreme demands. They are the basic rights that every species in this chamber already enjoys." Speaker Rin leaned forward. "And if we refuse," Jin met her eyes without fear, "then we will release every private council transmission to the public networks. Every species will see what you planned for Silent Worlds. Every citizen will know the truth about their leaders." The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded that Earth be destroyed. Others argued for acceptance. The chaos lasted for several minutes. Finally, Speaker Rin raised her hand. Silence fell. "I have led this council for 400 years, she said slowly. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves with pride and fear, and I have learned one truth above all others." She looked at Jin with something that might have been respect. "The species that survive are not the strongest. They are the wisest. They are the ones who can admit their mistakes and change." She turned to face the chamber. "We made a mistake with Earth. We treated them as prey when we should have treated them as partners. Now they offer us a chance to make things right. I believe we should take it." Elder Voss stood again. "This is weakness. If we bow to human threats, every species will challenge us. The Council will collapse." "The Council will collapse faster if built on lies," Rin replied. "I call for a vote. Accept the Earth Accords or reject humanity entirely." The voting began. One by one, species cast their decision. Jin watched the numbers change on the central display. His heart beat fast, but his face remained calm. The final count appeared. 2/3 majority in favor. The Earth Accords were accepted. Jin let out a breath he had been holding for what felt like hours. Around him, the chamber buzzed with discussion. History had changed in a single moment. Later that night, Jin stood alone in a viewing gallery, looking out at the stars. His communicator buzzed. He answered it, and Commander Tay's face appeared. "It is done," Jin said. "The Accords passed. Humanity is now an equal member of the Galactic Council." On the screen, Tay was standing in a garden somewhere on Earth. The sun was setting behind him, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. His old face was peaceful. 200 years, Tay said quietly. 3 generations of silence. And now it finally means something. Sir Jin asked, "What happens now?" Tay smiled. "Now we prove that we deserve the respect we demanded. Now we show the galaxy who humanity really is. Not conquerors. Not victims. Partners." He paused. "Thank you, Jin. Your grandmother would have been proud." The screen went dark. Jin turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of humans were waking up to a new reality. They were no longer alone. They were no longer silent. They were finally home among the stars. 50 years had changed everything. The solar system, once quiet and hidden, now blazed with life. Ships from 100 worlds traveled through human space. Space stations orbited every planet, filled with traders and diplomats and curious travelers. Earth itself had become a center of galactic culture, a place where species came to learn and grow together. Admiral Nari stood on the bridge of the Unity, the largest ship humanity had ever built. She was 30 years old, with her grandmother Sora's sharp eyes and her great Uncle Tay's calm patience. She wore the uniform of the Galactic Fleet, silver and blue, with the symbols of Earth and the Council side by side. "Admiral," her officer reported, "all ships are in position. The fleet is ready for your orders." Nari nodded. She looked out the window at the armada gathered before her. 3,000 ships from 40 different species, all under her command. She was the first human to lead a galactic fleet. The weight of that honor pressed against her heart. "Show me the threat zone," she ordered. The display changed to show the edge of the galaxy. Red markers indicated destroyed colonies. 20 worlds had fallen in the last 6 months to an enemy no one understood. They came from beyond known space, silent and deadly. They did not negotiate. They did not demand. They simply destroyed. The Council had panicked. Old fears returned. Species blamed each other. Alliances cracked. And then, in their fear, they turned to the species that had once frightened them most. "Humanity has shown strength we did not expect," Speaker Rin had said at the emergency summit. "Now we ask them to show it again, not against us." For us, Sonari was here, leading a fleet against an unknown enemy, carrying the hopes of a galaxy on her young shoulders. On Earth, in a quiet apartment in Seoul, an old woman sat by a window. Her name was Yuna, and she was 82 years old. Her hair was white as snow, and her hands shook when she wrote. But her mind was still sharp, still remembering. She was writing a book. The true history of humanity's 200 years of silence. She had been there from the beginning, watching beside Commander Tay as the galaxy threatened their world. Now she was one of the last people alive who remembered those days. Her assistant, a young man named Ki, brought her tea. "Are you well, Elder Yuna?" "I am old," Yuna said with a small smile. "But I want to finish this book before I go. The young ones need to know the truth. They need to understand why we stayed silent." Ki sat beside her. "I grew up learning about the Accords, but I never really understood. Why didn't we just talk to them from the beginning?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Her eyes looked far away, seeing memories instead of the room around her. "'Cause words without strength are just noise," she said finally. 200 years ago, we were weak. If we had spoken, they would have ignored us. Or worse, they would have come for us before we were ready. So we waited. We watched. We prepared. She looked at the young man. "Ah!" And when we finally spoke, our words carried the weight of everything we had built. That is why they listened. Not because we were loud, because we were ready. Key nodded slowly. And now, Nari is out there, leading their fleet. Some people say, we have become what we feared, a military power that others depend on. Una shook her head. We have not become conquerors, Key. We have become protectors. There is a difference. Conquerors take. Protectors give. She turned back to her window, looking up at the stars that had once seemed so frightening. Tay taught me that. He said true strength is not the power to destroy. It is the power to protect, and the wisdom to know when to use it. Far away, at the edge of the galaxy, Nari was preparing for battle. Her fleet had arrived at the last line of defense before the enemy reached populated space. Beyond her, the darkness waited. All ships report ready, Day's son reported. He had his father's calm voice. The enemy fleet is approaching. Contact in 30 minutes. Nari stood tall. She thought of her grandmother Sora, who had commanded the silent fleet. She thought of Commander Tay, whose portrait hung in her cabin. She thought of all the generations who had worked and sacrificed so that humanity could reach this moment. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. Every ship, every species, every soldier heard her voice. My name is Nari, she said. 50 years ago, my world was silent. We watched the stars and wondered if we would survive to see them up close. Today we stand together with species we once feared, defending a galaxy that once threatened us. She paused. I will not pretend this will be easy. I do not know what waits for us in the darkness, but I know who we are. We are the ones who protect. We are the ones who refuse to abandon those who need us. Her voice grew stronger. 200 years ago, my ancestors said that when humanity finally speaks, the galaxy will never forget the sound of our voice. Today, I make a new promise. When the ones we love are threatened, our voice will shake the stars. She raised her hand. All ships, advance. Show them what the galaxy stands for. The fleet surged forward into the unknown. Ships from 40 worlds, once divided by fear and suspicion, now united by purpose. At their head flew the Unity, carrying a human admiral who had inherited 2 centuries of patience and strength back on Earth. Una finished the last chapter of her book. Her hands trembled as she typed the final words. For 200 years, Earth stayed wordless. Not because we had nothing to say, because we were waiting for someone worth saying it to. In the end, we did not find the galaxy. The galaxy found us. And when it needed us most, we answered. She saved the document and closed her eyes. Outside, the sun was rising over Seoul, painting the city in gold. Children were walking to school, laughing and playing. Ships flew overhead, carrying visitors from a dozen worlds. The future that Tay had dreamed of had finally arrived. Una smiled softly. She thought of all the people she had known. Tay, who had taught her patience. Sora, who had taught her courage. Bora, who had taught her the power of calm words. Jin, who had taught her that understanding was stronger than force. They were all gone now. But their legacy lived on. In Nari, flying toward danger. In Ki, learning the truth. In every human who looked at the stars without fear. We did it, Una whispered to the empty room. We finally did it. Somewhere among the stars, the battle began. And somewhere in the hearts of every species in the galaxy, a new understanding was born. Humanity had been silent not out of weakness, but wisdom. They had waited not out of fear, but purpose. And now that they had spoken, the galaxy would never be the same. The story of Earth's silence had ended. But the story of Earth's voice was just beginning.